dear viewer, and welcome to this special episode of the PCEA Health Week 2021 with the theme Hope in Times of Crisis, quoted from Lamentations 3:22. As we all know, we are in a health crisis, that is a COVID-19 pandemic, and definitely with COVID-19 there are issues that have risen, or health issues that have risen due to the pandemic. And one of these issues, as we all know, is mental health, and that is going to be our topic of discussion today, narrowing down to suicide. Now, according to the World Health Organization, more than 700,000 people die due to suicide, that is worldwide. And joining me is Nurse Margaret Kearie from PCEA Kikuyu Hospital, and she's going to help us understand suicide and what should be done to prevent these cases. Sister, thank you so much, and welcome to the show. I hope that you're doing well.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm doing well. Thank you, Ida. Yeah.
So let us start by introducing this topic to our audience. We've just mentioned that more than 700,000 people died due to suicide. Maybe you can just give us the numbers in Kenya and just compare these numbers worldwide and why there is an increase currently.
Yeah. Yes, suicide is a big issue, and especially now because of COVID and the way life has changed. A lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of people have lost their loved ones. A lot of people have lost their livelihood. And you know, even other people have now left where they used to live, like in the towns, and they've gone back to the village. They are not used to the life in the village. And people are suffering. People are really suffering. And therefore, you realize that even in families, people have, you know, parted. You know, a wife has left her husband because he doesn't have money. The same with men are also feeling shy, and they've left their, you know, their wives because of the same. So, as you rightly said, yes, internationally we have the numbers. We may not be able to tell the numbers right now in Kenya because I don't think a research has been done yet, but we can tell from, you know, what we see, because we can already experience a lot of suicide, a lot of reporting on suicide is happening more than it was happening before. And a lot of the people that are having these problems, as you may be able to have seen, they're actually men. And that is one thing that is quite interesting, that we are having more men committing suicide. Actually, out of 5 people who have committed suicide, 4 are men. 4 are men. And if you notice, like with the 700 or more than 700,000 per year, it means that for every 45 seconds, there's someone who is committing suicide. So as we sit here, someone is committing suicide, which is very, very serious. And that was back in 2019. So what about today, when now we are talking about the pandemic, and we are talking about the effects of pandemic? So we have a serious problem that needs to be looked into. And also considering that now, you see, suicide has been considered as an illegal or some criminal affair. So when someone has attempted suicide, most of the time you find that it may not even be reported, because if it is reported, then people know that that person is going to be taken in and jailed. And this is someone who is actually, and like you rightly said, it is a mental health issue. This is someone who is sick. We don't take sick people to jail, but that is the current situation now. That is a practice, that if someone is committing suicide, then they are criminal. So they will be taken to the police instead of being taken to the hospital. So unless, of course, they have an issue that is, you know, a health issue, then they will be taken to the hospital. So it is a big problem. That we're having.
Okay. Now, from your response, I read that stress could be a risk factor. It could make one think or even commit suicide. So, what are some more risk factors, things that can lead one to either think of committing suicide or commit suicide?
Yeah, I mentioned about financial issues. That is one of the things. Another issue is mental health issue. Someone is already sick, but we don't know that that person is sick. We are not able to recognize the sickness. So they end up committing suicide before we know that they had a mental condition. And some of them are like, you know, bipolar conditions, and also, you know, like in bipolar, there's a point at which someone is depressed. And during that time of depression, they contemplate suicide. Because it is when somebody starts feeling that I am worthless, I don't belong, I don't feel like I need to live anymore. So that person reaches a point where they feel that they want to commit suicide, or they commit suicide. Or at least they attempt to commit suicide. But some people end up actually taking their lives. The other thing is about now relationships. And especially with younger people, and you will actually notice that most of the suicide cases that we've had, they are younger people who are committing suicide, and these are people who are exploring life. They are trying to experiment with life, and then they realize that they have a lot of anxiety about the same life. So you find that most of the time there will be younger people between 15 and 29 years who are committing suicide. So again, most of the time they have relational issues. It could be with parents, it could be with their peers, it could be with the teachers. So they have relational issues. Then when others will be because of, you know, the way they relate with their spouses, you know, that has also become very common. And because of that relationship, then it becomes conflicting, and then issues of abuse come in. Some may be because of abuse, because maybe they're going through abuse in the family, or they have also gone through abuse, like sexual abuse, and one feels that I am not worth living. I can't even face another day. So you find that somebody will opt, or will not quite opt, but they're just driven. Actually, they're led into committing suicide. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that, Sister. Now let us look at the signs. How can you tell that someone is either thinking of committing suicide, or something is not okay with them, that and it might lead them to actually think of committing suicide or actually commit the action?
Yeah, so some of the things that will tell that someone is maybe contemplating to commit suicide is they will already start talking about it. There are many things that happens, and different people will do different things. One is that somebody may talk about being worthless and hopeless in life. When they start now talking about it, and they are repeatedly talking about it, it means already they are giving up in life, and they can actually commit suicide. There are other times when somebody will be talking about pain. You know, there are some diseases that are painful, and you know there's that pain that never goes, and a pain that is painful. I don't know if you have ever heard of a pain that is painful, but yes, a pain, that kind of pain that is chronic, and one just feels, I can't take it anymore. I can't continue this way. So, you know, you find somebody will be led into committing suicide. There will be other instances whereby you find someone is now like selling, you know, their property. They are even saying that they are going on a journey and they are not sure if they are coming back. And a long journey, they are not sure if they are coming back. They're kind of talking with codes. And you can't be able to connect. What are they talking about? Why are they saying this? Where are they going? They also don't know where they're going, but they are going somewhere and they're not coming back. Such kind of coded language may lead someone to know that this person may commit suicide, or you know, they may attempt to commit suicide. There are those others who will also have, maybe themselves, they may not have signs, but if we have a family history or where we have people who have committed suicide before, it is likely that you might find other people. And we have even seen families where people have died of suicide. You know, they've committed suicide and another one has committed suicide within the same family. Sometimes we may not be able to tell why, because we don't know whether it is genetic or not, but that is something that normally happens. So those are some of the signs that you see. If for example, there are like children, you'll be able to see that you know, the mood has changed, they are becoming distressed, they are emotionally distressed, and again, those are children. You are wondering, then they start withdrawing from others. They are not playing as they used to play. Their academic, they are changing, you know, in terms of their academic performance. You could almost tell there is a problem. So usually it's where there is a problem, and this problem is mental. So sometimes, and maybe it is important to mention that for mental conditions, they tend to begin at the age of 14. And that is why you also find that if a child is developing a mental condition, then they will end up, you know, behaving in a way that is not normal. And you never know, it could lead them into committing suicide. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Now, there is something that happens in the community very often. Someone will be, you've just mentioned that someone that is thinking of committing suicide, they might talk about it and even give hints.
Yes.
People do that. People say, one day I'll do this, one day I'll commit suicide, one day I'll kill myself. But the community or the society or people around do not take it so serious. Where do you think the gap is, even with the rising numbers of suicide?
I think the biggest gap is knowledge. There's a gap with knowledge. We don't talk about suicide. We don't talk about mental issues. Actually, it's been a taboo. There's stigma. That's why we don't want to talk about suicide, because we don't want to be associated with it. And in fact, even when people die of suicide, we tend to use other ways of saying maybe it was hand injury, maybe it was it was a cut or something, because you find even in the community, it's not once, it's not twice, we've heard of people have been taken to the hospital, they were trying to cut themselves. But why were they injuring themselves? But then you find that when they go to the hospital, they won't say that this person was injuring themselves. They will say something different, and we'll take care of that wound, because they don't want we don't want to say that someone was trying to commit suicide, was attempting suicide, because of the things we have talked about. And so those are some of the reasons why people do not. And if only we can change our mindset about mental health issues, because really it's all about mental health. We change about it and we see that it is a disease like any other, and there is nobody who want to be sick. You don't choose which disease that is going to affect you. Nobody invites mental illness. And even the people who use, because even people who use alcohol and drugs, they also end up, they can tend to have mental issues, or they have mental issues, that's why they are going into this, or they are taking they are using the substances that they are using, because they are having mental issues already. But then again, you can see that that person either went into substance use because they had a mental issue, or they were using the substances and that triggered a mental condition in them. So you can see they are interrelated. So there is not a single time you can say that this person is having a moral issue. That is why they are doing this. That's why they are committing suicide. But the problem we have is that we are not able to communicate this, and the community and the society has not actually embraced it as any other disease, like the way we embrace hypertension. People talk very nicely and say, I am hypertensive, I am diabetic, I have this, I have a headache. The same way you say, I have a headache, I have an abdominal pain, we should be saying the same about a mental issue. Yes.
Well, now, when it comes to now talking of suicide cases, yeah? Now, do you think the media, not just the mainstream media, do you think even social media could be perpetrators of suicide? Because let's say I'm having suicidal thoughts, then I see someone somewhere has committed suicide, maybe they've killed the entire family. Does that agitate me? Does it make me now to go and commit the act?
There's something that is called like imitation, or, copycatting. Now, when there are times when we will see things and we want to copy what has been done. Sometimes, depending on how actually the media has presented that issue, if it is presented like it is a heroic act, then what is going to happen? People will want to imitate that, and they will want to do a heroic act so that they can also be talked about. So the media also plays a very big role on even the language that is used. Yes, the language that is used to talk about suicide. It's very, very important to be able to be choosy in what we say. So yes, it is the community and all of us, even when we are talking about it, how do we talk about what we see and what we have had? Sometimes we add a lot of salt. Sometimes you even make that story, become even different from the way it was done, you see. So it is very important how we actually look at this matter and how we communicate about it. It's very, very important, yes, because it can also trigger people to want to imitate or even to want to be like a hero, like the other person. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for that, Sister Margaret. Remember, we are coming to you from PCEA Kikuyu Hospital, and it is PCEA Health Week 2021, and the theme is Hope in Times of Crisis. We are going for a very short break. We'll be right back in a few.
Are you looking for affordable land to begin your investment journey? PCEA Housing Cooperative Society Limited brings you Baraka Gardens. Baraka Gardens prime plots are located in Juja, one of Nairobi's most sought after towns for investments. The plots are located 1 kilometer from the upcoming Great Eastern Bypass and only a few meters from Juja Farm Ardhi Shopping Center. We are offering a 40 by 80 acre plot at 560,000 Kenya shillings for members and 600,000 Kenya shillings for non-members. Book yourself a plot today with a deposit of 200,000 Kenya shillings. The installments are 60,000 Kenya shillings for members and 67,000 Kenya shillings for non-members, payable within 6 months. Baraka Gardens is a ready-to-build investment with electricity and water readily available. Get in touch with us today to become part of the bustling Juja neighborhood. We have other projects in Juja Farm and Kangudo Road. Our offices are located at Muho Avenue, South C, Nairobi. For more information, contact us on 0708 145 222.
Cases that are very emotive drive themselves away from facts, such that people stop looking at what the facts are and they just decide that because I don't like this person, I will not accept anything that they say. There are relations that continue to exist after the dispute, right? So if these parties are able to be led through a process that enables them to come up with their own solutions, then perhaps the solutions are more embraced. But failure to mediate might not really affect what the court thinks, because it might never get the chance to see. The parties themselves also continue to suffer the costs. Yeah, the outcomes are not as good as you would want. So the court might not be affected in any way, but the parties certainly will suffer the outcome of failing to.
be the epitome of love. But in recent times, this seems like a dream, because all we're witnessing is rape cases, high divorce rates, betrayal, and even murder.
So you have to protect her.
You say maintaining marriages because racism.
There are also many who are going through issues in their marriages and they can't run to anybody.
The issue of killing, the issue of murder seem to be on the rise.
And that is why we bring you Transforming Families, where we are all about just that, transforming families. Are you looking for affordable land to begin your investment journey? PCEA Housing Cooperative Society Limited brings you Baraka Gardens. Baraka Gardens prime plots are located in Juja, one of Nairobi's most sought after towns for investments. The plots are located 1 kilometer from the upcoming Great Eastern Bypass and only a few meters from Juja Farm Ardhi Shopping Center. We are offering a 40 by 80 acre plot at 560,000 Kenya shillings for members and 600,000 Kenya shillings for non-members. Book yourself a plot today with a deposit of 200,000 Kenya shillings. The installments are 60,000 Kenya shillings for members and 67,000 Kenya shillings for non-members, payable within 6 months. Baraka Gardens is a ready-to-build investment with electricity and water readily available. Get in touch with us today to become part of the bustling Juja neighborhood. We have other projects in Juja Farm and Kangudo Road. Our offices are located at Muho Avenue, South C, Nairobi. For more information, contact us on 0708 145 222.
Well, welcome back. Just a reminder that this is PCEA Health Week 2021 and we are looking at suicide, specifically just discussing about mental health, basing on the theme of the year, that is hope in times of crisis. We are coming to you from PCEA Kikuyu Hospital and I'm with Sister Margaret Kiarie, Director, Nursing Services at Kikuyu Hospital. Well, welcome to the second part, Sister. Now, let us try and look at now the solutions. We've painted where the problem is. We've looked at the risk factors and the signs. So what can the community do, maybe just to prevent and control suicide?
Thank you, Ida. Yes, the community has a lot to do. And when I talk about the community, I even actually talk about the church because it is part of the community. And the church is one place that a lot of information can be delivered, a lot of knowledge. We talked about knowledge gap, and a lot of knowledge, and even creating a mindset. A change of the mind can actually happen in the church. That's why people get converted, isn't it? Because when you go to church and you are preached to and you understand and you get to know that you ought to get born again, you make a choice and you do a change. Yeah, that's where we are actually transformed. So we can also be transformed in terms of the way we think and we take issues of life in the church. I think if there is an area, it's not like a baraza where you go and it is a one-day thing, event or a few hours event, you hear so many things and then you go home. But in the church, we can have opportunities where there is an education time, where people, the congregation that has come, who are gathered there, can also, apart from just, talking about spiritual matters, we also talk about other matters, like health matters, which is very, very important. And the one we are talking about, the mental health, very important. And I'm glad that the church, the PCEA church, has a whole week that is dedicated to health, to matters of health, and a lot of things happen. Like I know here we are already, as we sit here, we are doing like a screening of breast and cancer, cancer for the same, and even educating people about the same. So this is very important. So in the church, a lot of training, because that is where you can capture as many people as possible. in the media, where we have now WhatsApp, social media, there's a lot of teachings that is going there, but what kind of teaching is happening? We need to be careful about what are we transferring from myself to the other. Sometimes people actually create things that are not even there and they transfer it. But if we are transferring the right information about the right issues, the issues that are ailing our community, then we can be sure that it can be useful. Then when we go to the community itself, when people learn and they have the people they have experienced someone who is attempting to commit suicide, how do we treat them? How do we, tomorrow if I meet with that person and I know they were trying to commit suicide, how will I look at them? How am I going to interact with them? When I know that someone has a mental issue, how do I interact with them? Most of the time when we know someone has a mental issue, and anyway, I know we used to do that even when we were young, so-and-so is a mental case or a mental issue, you walk the other side. You see them coming and you walk the other way instead of meeting with them and showing them love. Because what we require, and everyone needs to be loved. And the reason why someone is feeling hopeless and feeling that they don't need to live is because they don't feel that love. If someone is offering them a shoulder to cry on, they can be able to express themselves and talk about that which they are feeling at that very moment. That now I feel that I am feeling pain. If someone is in pain, that pain that causes someone leads someone to commit suicide. And they are able to express about it, and there is someone showing love to them, then and support, then that person will not take their life. That person who is already having too many things that are overwhelming them. Because when you are stressed, when you are having so many problems, then you become overwhelmed. That is what will lead someone to wanting to or to actually attempting to commit suicide, because they feel like I'm so overwhelmed, I can't make another step. I can't take it anymore. So if we are able to if our community can be able to take it and understand that, then we can all be supportive, and someone will now feel I belong to this community. They will even be eager to be within that community. They will be eager to meet with someone who might say a word and they can feel that I am supported. If they were trying to do something, they say I am changing because I cannot do it. That person has shown me a lot of love. So those are areas that we can do a lot. When we think about the area of health, and we are going to the hospital, because they say, I don't know how true, I don't know how how that research was done, but they say 80% of people going to the hospital is not because they have real sickness in them, but a lot of it is mental. It is mental. It's about psychological. And if only that person comes and meets someone who can give them a chance to speak about their issues, to speak about themselves, the pain will go. The pain they were feeling will go. Sometimes that pain may not be pain that requires medication, but requires to be talked to. So what happens is when someone goes to the hospital and they are facing each other with the doctor, they wear another face. They are smiling, but inside they are burning. They wear a mask, I would call it a mask. And if only our health workers can be trained to be able to learn how to remove the mask and help the person and see the person who is behind that mask and see what is ailing them, then it becomes so easy to actually reach them. Because some people may even leave the health facility but go commit suicide. Because they did not get, they were trying to check whether they can get the support, but they probably did not get it as they expected. But it's because we were not able to go deeper. And in fact, as we are talking, we had a about a few days with the board and the management, talking about holistic healthcare. We had a time when we were just talking about holistic healthcare and what is it that we can do so that when you come and you say, I have a headache, we don't give you medication for headache only. We want to know a little bit more. Why the headache? What has brought about the headache? And as we talk about it and we are showing you love, then you are talking more. And you probably might just bring out that which is disturbing you. And you may not even need that medication for that headache. So in the health facility, it is important that the health workers are also trained on how to try to explore a little bit more. And when now someone is exploring and they realize that this person is actually having a lot more, is overwhelmed by something else, what do? So we should be able to take this person and try to now talk to them about themselves. Let them, see themselves and try to explore within themselves what options do they have. And try even to find out what are you planning to do. Because there are times when you could find out from someone and they tell you, I don't think I need to leave. Nobody is interested with me. You see, I have struggled to come to the hospital alone. No one was interested even to bring me to the hospital, yet I'm so sick. So the moment you hear that, then you know where will they go back to. So that is the time now you get in and try and support this person, support them so that they can even be able to have the strength to cope with whatever is overwhelming them. You help them to come up with support. Even you may not be able, I wouldn't say that a clinician or even a nurse or someone, a healthcare worker can be able to take so much time, but we can refer. And that is why even in the healthcare facilities, we need to have other professionals, like the psychological, health workers, so that they can be able to take over such people, and they take them a little bit further, and even have a way of booking them into more and more sessions, and they will be helpful. If we think about the case of students who are at school, the students, they will come, they have been following in class, but their performance has suddenly changed. So what do the teacher do? What can they do? They need to look at strategies that they are going to use within the schools so that they can be able to train the teachers. They train also the students to be able to understand about mental health issues, so that once they understand, even the students among themselves, they will also not be referring to each other or trying not to even interact with someone because someone is bullying or is abusive to them. Because that is how children, act. They can't keep a relationship. They have disruptive relationship with others. They are aggressive. They are violent. They are abusive. They are not performing. And you might think that this is a rebel, or this is a child who is not well taught at home. That is, or well brought up. But that is not the issue. We said that at the age 14, that is when mental health issues start developing. And if they are taken care of that early, when you start seeing those small signs, then you'll be able to actually stop it from going further. And that is where now the teachers come in. If they don't have the knowledge, how will they help? If the fellow students don't have the knowledge, how will they help? But if they have that kind of a platform whereby even there's that improved relationship between teachers and the students, then the student, when they have a problem, they'll be able to come and express themselves and even discuss it with the teacher, and they still get some help. Yes.
Well, thank you so much. That was in-depth. I believe that we've understood and action is going to be taken. Now we've talked over the second party, what they're supposed to do, what they're supposed to take into practice. Now let's look at me who is having thoughts of committing suicide, me who is thinking of committing suicide, what am I supposed to do as an individual? Very briefly.
Okay, so as an individual, when you feel that you need you feel that maybe you are helpless, you are hopeless, and you don't have a way out in life, suicide is not the solution. It is not the solution. The solution is talk about your feelings. Look for someone you can trust. Meet them. It can be a pastor, it can be a counselor, it can be a healthcare worker, it can even be a friend. Let them know what you are feeling. Let them help you to start seeing life in a not in a hole. They open up for you the horizon, and you start seeing different options. Because sometimes where we become overwhelmed, because we focus too much on the problem that we are having. So someone can just say a word that is going to open your mind, and you will see different things. But if it is a serious issue and it is a mental issue, we have mental health workers. And we have institutions. They are not many, and even the mental health workers are not many, but at least they are there. You can be able to meet them, you can be able to go there and meet them. You can see a counselor. You know, if you're having those thoughts, they are coming, see a counselor. We need to have a helpline. You know, a helpline whereby you can even call. But that is, I think, at the government level. The government needs to come up with a helpline whereby someone can actually say, I have these feelings, or I'm feeling like this. But again, if you are connected to some counselor somewhere, they are also part of your helpline. You can always call them, and you can always express what you are feeling. Suicide is not a solution. Suicide is taking your life. You know, it is actually dying. Suicide is death. It is dying, and dying because you have taken your own life. But that doesn't solve the problem at all. But as an individual, we need to find ways and means and support. You know, we need to find our support areas or people that are our support areas so that they can help us to be able to find coping mechanisms, you know, coping with the issues because life is a challenge and life is a risk. So these are normal things that happen in life, and everyone happens. It's only that now different people have different ways of coping, and some people can cope with very big stresses, and others may not be able to cope with as big stress, you know, huge stresses as others. So I think the only way to tell someone is that suicide is not a solution, and that we need to seek for help. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for sharing that information with us. I believe those at home have grasped one or two things, and definitely we are going to have a changing world or a new world in terms of mental health. Well, that was Sister Margaret Kearia from PCEA Kikuyu Hospital. Remember, we were looking at mental health and narrowing down to suicide. Just to use some of her words, that suicide is not a solution. If you're having such thoughts, kindly get someone to talk to. And if someone comes to you that needs a listening ear, kindly let us remove those masks and let's give them a listening ear. And also that suicide is a disease like any other, just like diabetes and hypertension. We should not take those who come to us for help of those that are having suicidal thoughts to jail or just try and judge them, but we should take them to the hospital for them to be cured. It's actually a disease just like our Sister Margaret said. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, this was the PCEA Health Week 2021, and the theme is Hope in Times of Crisis, quoted from Lamentation 3:22. I've been your host, Ida Munzatsi. Until next time, have a blessed night.